I don't know if we can try. You know what? We'll try.
Okay, I'm just recording now. There's this beautiful lady in her car with the power out. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. Power outage. What can you do? We had a really good storm, as I say, last night. And so I have no power. So I'm doing this from my car so I can charge my phone. And I have a couple of clients a little bit later on. So yeah, hey, we adapt and overcome, right? We pivot. We just go with the flow, and it is what it is, sister.
Yeah, it was like the post that I made this morning about how life right now is literally like an obstacle course. Things keep getting thrown and you're just like, okay, next, okay. And then it's,
Yeah.
as long as we don't get triggered, we can, not that we have to be perfect, but, try our best not to get.
Exactly. When we are aware that we are moving through the shift of the ages, and it is a time of uncertainty and a time of uncomfortability, then we are learning very quickly. It's actually a lot more exciting to have new stuff happen and be thrown curveballs and have to pivot than the same old that we were used to for thousands of years.
Yep.
You wake up, eat, sleep, repeat, and we have no creativity in the middle of all of that, right?
Right.
So there's an upside, as we know, to everything.
Yep. I know. I've been feeling like a huge lifting off of me ever since my husband and I have decided to take our family. We're leaving California and we're going to go to a community and build a house. And we've committed to doing that. And ever since we made that decision, I feel like now I have the energy to do what I'm here to do, because I don't have to worry about, safety and survival and all that stuff. I can just be present, focus on, giving messages and healing and helping. So today is awesome.
Right on.
Yeah,
that's awesome. That's exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's going to feel way better for sure. Super.
I'm going to be in nature with a river. And
well, that's outside of my house. You can see that, right? The trees.
Oh, it's so green.
Do you see that? Yeah, we have we're very fortunate. We live in the country, and I have 1,000-acre forest right beside me, mountain biking trails, walking, hiking trails. If I couldn't have nature, I'd be pouting.
And we have the beach, but we have everything else too going on here, as you know, in California. we have as intense as it can get. I mean, I'm blessed that we're not in, where the whole. Actually, I'm blessed we're not in Seattle. We'll talk about that. Have you heard about Seattle?
I'm very well aware. So we should probably put that disclaimer in that everything that we talk about here today is for entertainment purposes only.
That's right. It's just the opinion of the speakers and just.
And it is not reflective of the community at large. It's just two girls from two countries with different perspectives, chit-chatting about what's going on in the world. That's all. And the whole goal of this is to help people reconcile what's happening and to inspire, not true. Or I wonder if there's more to this. Right?
To inspire, not to what?
Inspire minds to ask questions and to inspire curiosity. I wonder if that's really the story, right?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder.
Yeah, I love that. It is about curiosity and not just kind of going, oh, okay, and then into reaction right away, like seeing a headline and going, oh, okay, So, which I think a lot of people listening to this don't do that, but I'm surprised at I'm getting surprised sometimes at the amount of people that I wouldn't think in a million years would, and that are still doing that. So,
you mean believing the mainstream media?
Yeah, believing the mainstream media and getting activated and responding as such. Like, oh, now I got to do this, whatever it is, whether it be masks, whether it be posting black cubes on the thing, or whatever it is. So black cubes on their
yeah it certainly seems like there's a bit of a theme where there's an opportunity to start thinking and questioning for yourself. rather than just believing what you're told. Because, you know, you gotta think, right? Like when a politician that happens to be worth $140 million lives in a gated community, is all of a sudden wearing African colors,
Right.
taking a
I
knee,
saw that.
that is a photo opportunity, and that has got to be the biggest BS I've ever witnessed. A politician doesn't take a knee unless they're trying to convince you of a narrative.
Right.
And they don't. And she goes home to her gated community with her $15 a tub ice cream, you know, in her double Viking whatever freezer, and she's trying to claim that she's with our Black brothers and sisters. Give me a break. And on that note, you know, it did come out yesterday. Candace, a wonderful conservative,
I love Candace.
Black sister. She revealed that this whole BLM matter, Black Lives Matter, which they do, all life matters, all life is sacred. And I would think that we are well beyond skin color or sexual preference. Give me a break. What people do in their bedroom, as long as it is with consent, and as long as it was with adults that agreed, not children, adults over the age of 18 agreeing, none of my business what you do in your bedroom. I don't care who you do it with. None of my business.
Exactly.
As long as as long as it's do no harm, funding for that movement is going into the Democratic Party. Black Lives Matter movement, all that money is going, it's a shill account, and all that money is going to the Democrats.
Yep, it's being funneled in there.
Which I would think, I'm not a legal person, but isn't that, well, that's complete manipulation. It's out of integrity. It's extortion. What else is it? Like, it's not cool.
And it's biased.
But they're being duped.
Yeah.
Totally biased.
Yeah. Yeah.
And didn't we go through this like in the 60s? Isn't this a redo of like 60 years ago or whatever?
Yeah, Candace was actually saying also this whole Black Lives Matter trending, it happens every certain period right as the elections are coming. There's been proof that show that it doesn't even come out as a trending theme or term until the elections happen every few years.
Yeah, and it's interesting because for those that do follow the Q movement, obviously I follow the Q movement, read every single post. I saw an intercept of communications, and as you and I well know, in the middle of the night, this is when those discussions are being made by the global elite that want things to stay the same because they get to maintain their billionaire status and their power and all that kind of stuff. That they intercepted comms in the middle of the night, and it was Shrillery. I can't say her name fast, but Shillery, Hillary Schlilton. There we are. Having a communication, a comm was intercepted in the middle of the night, and it was around 4:00 in the morning. And they were talking about she was talking about the Black community. And the reference was keep them blind, keep them dumb, keep starved, and keep them stupid. Those were her comms that were intercepted in the middle of the night. So this whole movement, it's false because she also has claimed that a gentleman by the name of Bird was her mentor, and he was very much connected to the KKK.
Oh.
That's Hillary's mentor.
And then
that's her mentor.
Right.
We also know that, and then I was going to share that she also is a very strong supporter of Sorge Joros. If you can get the code. Sorge Joros, who also, by the way, has been photographed with the young climate activist when she was only about 7 or 8 years old, as was Obama, also photographed with the same Sorge Joros. And yeah, so, you know, the whole point of this conversation, right, is that things are not what they seem. They are never what they appear.
Right. What I'm noticing is they take the things that they're saying and they turn it against and project it onto someone else, but it's actually them. So like the whole KKK thing, they keep saying, they always associate that white supremacist movement with Trump. when
Yeah.
actually they're the ones associated
It's them.
yeah, and not necessarily,
Yeah.
they're not necessarily associated with like the little groups that are going out and doing it, but actually the bigger groups that are underlying that energy.
The
So,
bigger,
and then,
yeah,
the whole thing about projecting that Sorge Joros is good and he's for the Black Lives Matter because it's been proven he's funding it. People automatically are being told, if they think that, we talked about this a little yesterday, that they're anti-Semitic because he was a Hungarian Jew. But we know.
yeah, he was, there's a video of him that's widely available of him being interviewed a long time ago when he went with the Nazis to collect all the wealth, all the belongings, and he had no issue with it. He had no consciousness.
Yep.
It didn't affect him in any way. So I don't know. I until you walk a mile in someone's shoes, right? But as I sit here and kind of ponder, could I do that? I don't think so. I don't think I could take people's belongings.
Well, I think, his whole name, George Soros, isn't even his real name. It actually has some meaning. It has like a completely different meaning that has to do with, I believe, like one language. The meaning of his name, his family changed their name because it represents this energy of only one language, only one world. And so he bought in, his family was already associated with that. They're not necessarily, oh, we should all be different and unique and, different cultures. So there's a lot of.
No, it's not commonly known that there are 13 bloodline families that basically run the planet. They own everything and run the planet. And he's connected, obviously, to a grouping of them. Of course, you have the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, all the wealthy. Basically, this whole idea of the elitism, the globalists, the billionaires, the cabal, whatever, they're just the super, super duper rich people that own everything, run everything, and don't want a thing to change. And we are their little worker bees or their slaves. And we're saying, no, we're not. And it's not happening anymore because we can see you and we don't agree.
And they've been doing this for years and years and years and under the radar. And because of, I think because of social media, but also because we're just changing as a planet, that now it's all coming to light. I mean, we all know, a lot of people know about it now. There's still some people going, no, it can't be, but go on.
Well, we're waking up, right? Our consciousness is expanding over the last 40, 50, 60 years. And a classic example is, we used to take everything that we were told, what was put in our food. I mean, for heaven's sake, in muffin mix, Quaker Oats muffin mix has propylene glycol in it. Propylene glycol is in windshield wash. It's antifreeze. Why are they putting that in muffin mix? It's not a food. It's a chemical, right? So years ago, something as simple as when I was in my 20s, I'd have a dog and it'd poop on the side of the road, but I didn't have the wherewithal to stoop and scoop, like in my own ignorance all those years ago, right? That was how ignorant I was back then. So using that food analogy, human beings are generally trusting. They would never do anything unkind. There's no way that they would put something in my food that might make me sick. Well, 30 years ago, we might not have noticed that, but now it's like, I don't think I'll want to buy that. If I can't pronounce it, I'm probably not going to eat it, right?
Right. Yeah.
So we don't buy their stories anymore. And I mean, yeah, and the big thing is, right, if you're a billionaire, what can you get away with? What can you hide? You take your car through your gated community and into your private estate with your private security, private airplanes and whatnot. You can hide anything. You can get away with anything. And all this stuff has been hidden in plain sight. It's all in our movies. Mm-hmm. Everything that we're slowly being exposed to as the dirty truth has been in our plain sight for years, but we've just been so busy with our own families, paying the bills, taking the kids to soccer, doing gymnastics, trying to make our sales quota or whatever our jobs are.
I don't know if you saw, you probably didn't see this. I posted a little clip from a movie, I believe it was in the 1990s, that basically was talking about how there was going to be a coronavirus and that the cure was hydrochloroquine in a movie.
Oh yeah, that was called The Death Something. It was in a school. Wasn't it a school with the principal, and they had lockdown and they had masks, and didn't the psychic have a dream that he had a dream or something and had the cure, which was hydroxychloroquine?
I
Yeah,
didn't
this
see
is,
all
yeah,
of
exactly.
the clip, and it was like the investigator going, there's a virus, there's going to be a virus, and then somebody going, the doctor going, yeah, no, the cure is hydrochloroquine. It just, I mean, it's unbelievable.
There, even
Go on.
Even Dean Koontz wrote a book with the exact same theme way back in the 80s or 90s.
How could anybody?
Because they.
Yeah, go on.
Go ahead.
No, you go.
I was just going to say they plan this 20, 30, 40 years in advance.
Yeah.
They don't plan like for next summer. Their plans to maintain control, if not assume more control,
right,
has been in the works for a long time.
Right.
And that's why you have the full extent of the media, Operation Mockingbird, right? CIA operation to control the media, have CIA operatives within the media so that they continue to tell their own story. And it gets to the point, their whole goal from many, many years ago is it'll get to the point where humanity won't even know, they'll believe everything that they're told. And they're not even able to think for themselves. Because if you can't think for yourself, then you can't ask questions, then you can be ruled, manipulated, and controlled.
Exactly. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, how can you watch a clip like that, like from that movie, and that came from, the 90s, and then not think, okay, that's strange, and just ignore that? How? I don't understand. How can
exactly.
you?
Yeah, so, exactly. But like I say, most folks, though, they're just so busy. They're so busy living their own lives. And of course, when it's presented to them, it's like, please don't tell me that this reality is not real, that I'm in a prison. People don't like to be pointed out that they're in a cage. They don't. It's not comfortable.
Shocking. It's very shocking. How it was presented to me before. Okay, so this is really wacky. Before the coronavirus hit, like, even when they were just starting to bring in the messages, like, about, oh, there was this virus, and it wasn't like anything yet. They didn't say it was anything yet. Like, maybe a couple weeks before that, I woke up in the middle of the night, and again, another middle of the night thing. And I had this really strange insight that was like, what if the world was a simulation? And then I know you probably heard of, like Elon Musk he actually believes that literally. And some people believe the moon is actually simulating this whole experience on Earth. Okay. But I had this total, and it felt like real, like something had clicked on, and I was like, wait a minute, what if we are just these little actors? And obviously, when you look at like Buddhist perspective and Maya, that everybody's just an illusion and playing the actor and the actress in our reality. But I got this sense, like, what if we really are all just kind of been completely
a holographic reality?
Yeah. And what happened was, why I'm sharing this is because I had a moment of shock, like, oh my God, like what if really, like, everything's just this desolate Earth, and there's really nothing, kind of like the Matrix, like, but for a second, it didn't feel like just a thought. It felt like something was clicking, like, things aren't what they seem. Okay. So I don't think necessarily really we are in a computer simulation. I had to think about that for a few months. Like, was this an insight? Like, am I just been dreaming this thing the whole time? Like, am I just like a character and I really am not real? And I really looked at that. But I think what was happening for me was my way of going, what you think is happening, what you think is going on isn't really the way you think. And that's how I moved through the shock. And so I was able to release all that before all this hit. And then when all this hit, I was like, oh yeah, I thought it was much worse than this. I thought we were just on this desolate planet, be like, a computer simulation. So like, this I can handle.
Right. Yeah, I've heard Bashar, who actually I think is also in California, a fellow Canadian. So Paul channels, I think Paul, or is it Daryl? I don't remember. I might get the name wrong. But anyway, Bashar, he says that we're using 100% of our brain to convince ourselves that we're these limited little human beings, not capable of doing much at all, but we're using actually 100% of our brains to convince ourselves that we only have 8% of it activated. And that would kind of like tie into the whole message is that nothing is ever what it appears. And here's the reason why. I can explain something to you to the best of my ability, drawing on language and the vocabulary that I have. But that would not equal if you could tap into me and feel exactly how I felt. You would know something, and there would be, can you still hear me?
You cut out, you said that wouldn't, something about tapping into how you felt. Could you repeat that?
Yeah, sorry. I thought there was a glitch in my network.
That's okay.
I can explain something to you using words and vocabulary, right? And you're going to understand that to the best that I'm able to express and try to communicate to you what I mean. But if you could tune into me and feel me, you would have no questions, because you would know exactly how I felt. You would know if I was lying, if I'm cheating, if I'm authentic, if whatever, you would know. So a lot is by presentation. People they're not really themselves. They're putting on a facade, a false facade. So that, this is not generally, and it's certainly not criticizing people. I'm talking generally. You know, like look at the corporate world as an example, right? For the women, we have to have our nails done, the hair has to be done, we're wearing heels, full suits. You have to look that way in order to be taken seriously, in order to give the idea to who's watching you that you're intelligent and that you have something of value to share. Now put that same person in a pair of kicks, Converse kicks, a tank top and a pair of shorts. Put her in front of the boardroom now, completely different gig, right? Oh no, that's not professional. So we're putting on this facade. We're playing this game. Here's how I present to the world, but behind closed door, there's something else going on, you know? And that goes for all of our systems, all of the systems and structures that we have taken for granted that they're part of our reality. But when you start digging into it, going, wait a minute, all of the adults are charging the children money, profiting from educating the children. That's a little bit, we have businesses that are profiting, making money over keeping people healthy. That's a distortion, because now I am now motivated as a business owner in healthcare to make money off of getting you well. But if I can make more money doing X, but Y is far better for you, but I don't make as much money, potentially I'm guided towards the profit rather than it being not for profit. That's just my opinion. I don't think that healthcare in any way should be for profit, nor do I think education should be.
Mm-hmm.
I think it should be all about education, because our children are our future leaders, inventors, innovators, our teachers. They're our future. That is where we invest. And I think every single problem in the world can be solved with really good education. You know, you look at there's middle, you know, look at Afghanistan as an example, right? They're totally cool with getting with children, 8, 9 years old. Pedophilia, they're okay with children, right?
Wow.
Their culture accepts that it's okay to marry, right? And in Saudi Arabia, it was, I think it was 6 or 7 years old, you could marry a girl, a little girl. Like, I'm sorry, you know, that just the whole, that is a distortion, a gross distortion. And that can be resolved with education. That has nothing to do with religion. Absolutely nothing. So even if, you know, like even in some of those cultures, right, they believe with headscarves and covering and whatnot. Where do you see nature saying, okay, I'm the rose and I'm going to cover that daffodil? that creative expression of source is not allowed, right? I believe that it can all be addressed through education. And going to these riots, you know, that this whole nonsense with that one fellow, it's not nonsense what we witnessed at all. It's not. It seems very set up though.
Well, there's a lot of stuff coming out about that. He has, I has a tattoo. I think I printed it out. I printed out some fun articles to talk about if we need to. But
yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, there was he has a symbol on him, which is basically a Masonic symbol tattooed on him.
So it's a triangle?
No, it was something else. It had to do, I wish I could find it.
No, that's okay.
But regardless, it was a symbol that was an Illuminati symbol. And so this is, I mean, why is that? Why is that if he wasn't in part of some plan? Why does he?
Well, yeah, it seems interesting. It certainly seems interesting that was videotaped for about 8 minutes. That's interesting. My husband is a police officer. Typically, if somebody is under arrest or what have you, that wouldn't be the scene. I've seen reports of a needle being put in his arm or in his neck area, perhaps. And it's a good question, you know, when you say, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. If you can speak, you can breathe. If you can speak words, you can breathe.
Right.
Right. So that seems like it's a big setup, right? So you have this virus. Let's get everybody to cover their faces. And now let's cause riots and reignite the whole Black Lives Matter movement. All lives matter. Of course, our Black brothers and sisters, their lives matter. And of course, they're the ones that have been repressed and kept down. You can't hear me.
Sorry.
We had a little glitch in the system. What was that about?
A little pop-up video.
Oh, I didn't hear.
Okay, go on.
Okay. No, I was just saying that our Black brothers and sisters have been, absolutely. They need the opportunity for education just like everybody else. It's your birthright, an opportunity for education. We can do such a better job. We can do such a better job. But it's really interesting. You've got all these rich elite celebrities raising $20 million for the rioters. Why aren't they saving money for the victims? Doesn't that beg a question?
Speaking of the rioters, there is now an area in Seattle. Have you heard about that? That is completely shut off. It's called an anonymous, or let me look at it. It's called like a zone where basically you can't enter, you can't have any police, and it's run by Antifa right now. So they have armed guards, and nobody's supposed to go there. It's called the autonomous zone in Seattle.
Yeah, something like Chaz, something autonomous zone. Yeah, CHAZ was the, yeah, what a, and isn't that interesting? Because Mr. Trump has been saying, you know, people have called him a dictator, and he keeps saying, I'm letting the governors choose. I'm letting the governors. So he's showing the American people, the public all over the world too, how those individual leaders that are in positions of power are dealing with the state, how they're dealing with the people, keeping people locked down much longer than they need to. And here you have this one. And now they're trying to defund the police. How about we just move the police to the area that you don't want them? Right? I want police in my area. You know what? You only want to defund the police if you commit crime. That's really the only reason why you would not want police. Because when I have I haven't had a flat tire or anything, but if I'm in trouble or need some help,
right.
I'm so grateful for a police officer.
Exactly.
To help me. I am so grateful, because there are thousands and thousands and thousands of police officers that would never ever do what we witnessed that person do. But that was a setup. It's totally a setup.
Right. There was this one person running for the Senate. She's an African-American lady, and she basically showed a video of why she showed all these things like that weren't matching George Floyd's neighbors, or no, actually the police officers' neighbors they said he wasn't a policeman, he was a real estate agent.
Interesting.
And then this senator, woman running for Senate, was saying, she was showing all these pieces like, well, his badge, this policeman's badge is different than this one. She was zooming in on the video, and like it was
Right.
costumes.
Yeah, I've seen reports that he's a crisis actor. He's been in, yeah, he's an actor. He plays a role, a part.
Which one?
It just seems interesting that it's going to be filmed that long. And now you've got Al Sharpton, the Democratic Black leader. He does the eulogy at this man's funeral and then steps on his private jet.
Right. Right.
And they're dancing and celebrating with his golden casket. Symbolism.
Oh. And I want to speak to something, because I'm seeing people posting that are buying into the mainstream narrative and going, yeah, we should privatize the police force. But
no, you know why that's not a good idea?
No.
Because if you privatize the police force, then it's the wealthy can afford protection and the poor cannot. That's ridiculous.
A privatized police force can kind of be directed by these corrupt groups.
Exactly. Because they're
go on.
Yeah. No, I was saying that is a ridiculous idea. That is not a good idea. You know what? When humanity as a whole, as a collective, has decided to do no harm, and that you don't have any issues with people stealing or anything like that, then we can have a completely different structure around police.
Right.
But we haven't even figured out how to deal with each other in a mature, adult, intelligent, calm way. Right. If we have differences of opinion.
Right.
If you can't even talk about something that have a different opinion and be respectful, you're not in a position to suggest to defund the police.
Right.
That's insane.
They're using the figures just like they did with coronavirus. They're skewing the figures in terms of how many deaths occur and how many white police have killed black people. And there actually is more, and this isn't a racial thing. This is just statistics. There's more white killing than the blacks being killed. And that I actually have, you can look at, there's several online if you want to dig, if you don't want to just listen to what you're being told, like, oh, this is so horrible and we need to, then you want to go and look and you'll see the statistics are actually showing it's not what they're saying. They want people to think that so that it creates a race war, but the statistics actually don't show that.
Yeah.
I have a neighbor.
Yeah,
Go on.
Go ahead, sorry.
No, I have a neighbor who's
there's a
brought all the statistics down, and it was like, yes, African Americans are getting killed, but white people are getting killed too. And actually it showed more white people were getting killed in the actual statistics. What were you going to say?
Yeah. And I got to go back to education again, right? So in America, there are some law enforcement agencies that require the police officer to pay for his own uniform or even their own car. That does not happen in Canada. The education requirements are much higher. And I would suggest that is done in America. I'm not solving the problems. I'm not saying that I'm the authority. I'm not at all. I'm just suggesting with educations, again, right? The police officers need to be taught all of those tools in case they're dealing, so that they're prepared to deal with the worst case scenario, but also to learn tools around building stress resilience, which, as you know, is what I do, right? But you teach them how to remain composed in a situation when you have somebody spitting in his face or shouting in his face. I mean, I've witnessed people pouring gasoline and setting them on fire. Hello, people. These police officers are moms and dads, brothers and sisters.
Right.
They have children. They have grandparents. They're people like you and me. It's a role to keep us safe.
Right.
And the only time you're ever involved with the police officer is either if you've done something wrong, you've committed a crime, or you've been victimized, or a crime has been committed against you, or your tire's flat and they're maybe stopping on the side of the road to give you a hand.
Right. But the news is zooming in on only the most horrendous stories. And that's what they do. And some people are, I've talked to one client, she's like, well, they're just doing that for ratings. It's like, no, it's not. It's bigger than that. It's not just the news is trying to get ratings. They're trying to create a way of thinking. Because they're paid for by some of the richest people in the world. That's their
Yes.
advertising money. That's who's funding them. So they're going to
Yeah.
deliver whatever those people want us to think they're delivering that message.
Yeah, Washington Journal and the Washington Post, it was recently revealed that they received quite a few $1 million from China to push Chinese propaganda. So it didn't look so bad over there.
Interesting.
People, we have gotten away from telling the truth. And this is part of the shift that we're experiencing, right? Humanity has decided that we will no longer agree to lies. And all we're walking through now is all of the lies, everything that's been hidden in the darkness underneath the rock. It has to be seen.
And some people are in resistance. You know, they're in resistance to seeing it, and they're triggered by it, and they're triggered. I'm having personal experiences where people are getting triggered by me. But interestingly, the amount that are getting triggered, more are supporting, more are going, wow, I didn't realize that, or thank you for sharing that, or yeah, I totally see that. But I'm still having some people that are, you know, it's pushing their deepest, darkest, the things we don't want to see, the things we don't want to know. And it's happening on an individual level. So I see a lot of like more people's trauma surfacing that maybe they didn't want to see, but also the planetary trauma that's, and if you're showing that to some people, it's painful. They want to just say that it's not true, and that, well, we just you know, we're just in disagreement, but actually the timelines are separating, and we will catch up together again. But there are some people that have chosen to dismantle the lies and be in this timeline for now, and unfortunately these two timelines, they're not merged yet, where we all kind of connect on it, and that's, it can be sad and painful, you know.
Well, that yeah, and that'll be out of choice. So that when they finally make a choice to align to love or to fear. So you're talking about two separate timelines. Yeah, and you know, unfortunately or fortunately, it really depends on what lens in which you choose to view the world. Humanity is very comfortable. We're very complacent. We would like every Sunday to be sunny with a gentle breeze blowing down the laneway, and that we don't grow and learn that way. So we're very comfortable and complacent, and sometimes we need a kick in the pants. And we are, quite frankly, we are as a collective stuck.
Yeah.
And the only time when we are stuck, when situations like this on a planet of a civilization that is trying to evolve, when you get stuck, it's very common. They need outside assistance, kind of like an addict needs outside intervention. It needs assistance to break through where they're stuck, where that blockage is. And for us, this is the denial of our source. That's the intervention.
Right.
It's kind of like Mother Earth saying, okay, kids, that's it, enough, into your rooms. Let's have a look at what you've created. Bloody hell, you've made a mess. Look at this. Oh my goodness, I didn't mean to create that. And that's what we're witnessing. But to your point, people don't like to look because they don't want to be told that they're in a cage or in a prison and that the reality is not real. It's frightening.
Well, and the weird thing is people think that by going out and doing the protest or supporting the whole Black Lives Matter movement, is they think that that's them breaking free of the cage. So it's so, I mean, this is like so covert how these elite groups are using that movement to make people think that they are being set free. But it's actually just another layer of the manipulation. And that's what I've been trying to help people see. And it's pushed a few people's buttons big time.
How can you feel that you're being liberated when you're out destroying property? How is that a liberation when you're destroying property, you're burning things, you're defacing monuments, you're defacing history? Why is it important not to do that? Because we learn from our history. If you erase history, you can't learn from those mistakes.
Well, and it's the people that are peaceful that are saying, well, I'm not participating in that, and I'm just, you know, fighting against something that's been going on. Then they're saying, they're regurgitating the words of the media. It's systemic. And they just think, okay, we're trying to like finally shift this on the planet, this big problem. Yeah. But they don't realize that that whole problem was released right now to the public just to distract them, to create different agendas like defunding the police, so these groups can just basically create their own privatized police, have a police state that is controlled by corrupt people, and
Hi.
ultimately allow them to implement us to have to submit in whatever way they think we need to, whether it be get a needle stuck in our arm with a poisonous vaccine, or any other things that I don't even, that I can't even, I don't want to put out there. I don't want to dream it in, but.
Well, this is Hunger Games, people. This is Hunger Games. You're watching Seattle. That's a section now that they've cordoned off to, you could liken that to a district in
Yeah.
the movie The Hunger Games.
And they have demands. Here's one of my articles. Antifa releases a list of demands. That's what terrorists do. That is what terrorists do. They release demands. If you don't do these demands, then I'm going to stay here. I'm going to, continue to, we don't know. They keep trying different things, and the police aren't allowed in this area.
I'm just having a look. I did every Wednesday, I think I've shared with you before, every Wednesday I do a class in consciousness,
Right.
and I made a whole bunch of notes. So for the listeners, what the biggest thing is right now is to find commonality.
Right.
Instead of looking at where we're different, let's look at where we have common interests, where we have commonality. So what's common? We all want to feel safe, right? We all want to feel safe and to live in peace. So what do you and I have in common? We live here on this planet. We're both human beings. We have a heartbeat. We have children. We have parents, right? We have the same DNA. Commonality. They shared that commonality was really, really important.
Right. It's true.
What were you going to say? You were looking for something there.
No, I was just trying to look at some of the demands that they have. They want amnesty for the rioters.
Yeah.
Yeah, they want the mayor to defund and abolish the Seattle police.
Uh-huh.
So they're not going to
So
leave. What'd you say?
I was just going to say that if it really is about Black Lives Matter, then why are the demands not about getting all of our brothers and sisters the education, having that fully funded for them?
Right.
And getting and doing exactly what Mr. Trump is doing, which is bringing businesses and manufacturing and job opportunities into these communities that have been abandoned,
right,
that have no opportunity to get a job and support their family and take care of things, right? Like if it's really about that, then let's do things that actually support that community.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this is
like teach them to fish. We don't. Yeah. Sorry, there's a delay.
No, go on. Teach them. What was the last thing you said?
I said there was a delay.
Before that, you said teach them.
So no, I was just saying that if it's really about Black Lives Matter,
right,
then you're not demanding the nonsense that they're demanding there. They're demanding opportunities for education for all of those brothers and sisters. And getting manufacturing and businesses back to invest in those inner cities, so they're not inner cities anymore. There's opportunity. People don't steal bread if they're not hungry.
It's true. And don't do it in a way where you have armed guards in a neighborhood. They're asking for people that are armed to come there and protect that space, so they can fight against if police come there to try to dismantle that area. That's not implementing new policies in a way that's, I think, really that effective. It's basically promoting.
Well, yeah. I mean, people, violence is not going to get you peace.
Exactly.
Rioting is not going to create peace.
Right. And then there's a whole bunch of stuff. Now they're starting to. Okay, so they've been using this to also bring about the second wave, put a bunch of people together, incite protests, tell people they need to protest, show this thing on the news, get them all out. And then they have a reason to say all these people were out together. And now the coronavirus has a second wave. So the WHO yesterday, first they came out with an article that said asymptomatic spread is rare. And then their puppet masters, whoever controls the WHO, said, wait a minute, what are you doing? And I'm not quite sure why the WHO released that, because that's actually the opposite of what they've been trying to tell everybody, to keep everybody under control and in lockdown. or go back to a reason to go back into lockdown. But then the next day they backpedaled and they says, who says asymptomatic spread of COVID-19? And they changed what they're saying now. Now they're saying, oh, we're taking that back a day later.
That's by design.
Yeah.
It's by design to confuse people, to keep people confused. Hello, if you wear a mask, you can't breathe because you're breathing your own carbon monoxide. You're not getting fresh oxygen.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a cold, if you have a flu virus, so like just think for when we have a normal cold, right? We're all bunged up, you know, you're coughing, you're sneezing, you feel like crap.
Right.
Covering up your mouth is never a suggestion.
Exactly. It makes
Don't they say feed a fever, starve a cold, or what is it? Yeah, it's just it's to create fear and confusion. But when people can think for themselves, they can go, okay, wait a minute. If I'm contagious, it's not going to be just from my speaking. It's going to be my whole body.
Exactly.
Like, you know what I mean?
Well,
and then they're forgetting about the immunity. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, go on, forgetting about the immunity.
No, the herd immunity, right? We've already, if this is a natural organism, which we know it's not, we know it was created in a lab.
Right.
And we know that this is their first time trying to experiment with RNA. This is so we don't have any, the people that make the vaccines don't have any efficacy rules. They do not have to prove that it works or that it does harm, number one. Number two, you can't sue a company if you receive damage. I'm sorry, those two things right there are a bit of a red flag for me. You don't have to prove that it's healthy for me, and I can't sue you if you do me damage. And they've never used the RNA portion before. And that's going to change our DNA, because the DNA is tells the DNA what to do. If they're manipulating that, why?
To zombify people, to make them, actually, I was reading articles about some of these, and what they can do is create suppression in the brain. And they're calling it anti-anxiety, anti-depression. This is the same material they were putting in viruses or vaccines that they were talking about could be anti-anxiety or anti-depression vaccines. This is the same stuff, but now they're just labeling it as a coronavirus. And what it can do is it can shut off access in different centers in the brain that they had one that was for anti-fundamentalism, okay? Not that I'm into,
I saw that.
Fundamentalist, but, I'm not into people's brains being altered for things. And, taking away the emotional reaction, the empathy, which is what a lot of these people in these darker positions, in these groups, these secret cabal groups, they're lacking empathy. That's why they're capable of doing the things that they do. And they want everybody else to be like that. And then we go into the whole transhumanism group that wants people to be more robotic-like, or less human, more machine. So this article came out today. It was very disturbing. Okay, it says, when can you hug again? When can you have a hug again? And it basically says about a year from now.
Yeah, sorry, I'm hugging as much as I can.
Right. So to everyone that's watching, you want to do the opposite of what you're seeing, what you're being told. If they tell you don't hug, hug. Okay. And then there's another one.
Okay, so let's look at this though. Let's look at this. Is important.
Yeah.
Can you hang on before you go there? Before you go there, I just want to add that to why this is very important for the listeners. If you have a baby that is born in an orphanage, you can give them all the food they need. They're warm. Their diapers are changed. If they do not have human contact and love, they will die. We as human beings need human contact. We're mammals. We need that love, that connection. We are social creatures.
Right.
To deny someone love That is the greatest sin. You would never deny another love. So I'm sorry, if I can't hug on this planet, I'd rather hug and I'll die happily. Whatever. I'm hugging. I'm not covering my face. I'm not hugging. I'm
Right.
not taking a vaccine. I'll
And the
take the
point is,
chance.
well, they're making people think this virus is so deadly and so scary that if you hug, you're going to basically will die. And the truth is it was never that deadly. People did die, but the death rate
No more than the common cold.
no more than the common flu. And the death rate really doesn't show that we need to be doing this and that we need to be this afraid.
Yeah. Well, fear is a great way to
I lost you for a second.
control people. And fear is also a great way to cause Can you hear me now?
You're back.
Can you hear me now?
The
Oh,
first
there, and I'm back.
I lost you at fear is.
Fear is a great way to control people. It's a great way to be manipulated and hijacked. And fear also cauterizes your connection to source, your access to higher wisdom and to tap in, because people need to get their inner net working, their own inner knowing. Because if you listen to what is going on out there, you're going to be confused. You won't know who to believe. You won't know who to trust unless you can discern your own truth, how things feel, not how you think about them, because your brain is going to use just history and logic to rationalize it and reconcile it. You got to, how does this feel? That's what we have to get back to trusting.
Exactly. And these groups that release.
Especially when we're surrounded with.
You cut out again. What'd you say?
It's you. Go ahead.
No, finish your thought. You cut out.
I don't even remember what I was talking about.
Are you there?
It's okay. No, go ahead. I think I was finished. There's a little bit of a delay, so that's why that sounds like that. Go ahead. I was finished.
No, that's okay. I love what you're saying, that we need to connect to our own internet. I love that.
That was from the Pleiadians. I can't claim that one.
Well, they're wise beings, as people know.
They are indeed. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's been great connecting with you this hour.
Yeah. So I want to, before we go though, I want to always, whenever we're talking about stuff like this, that can be a little bit, oh man,
Yeah.
I always want to leave with something positive, right? So I would suggest to everybody, do your best to get into neutrality. Get into neutral when you witness everything. Don't be attached to the outcome. See if you can find neutrality. And I think next week we're going to get together again and bring Carrie. Carrie, who is an absolute, so Carrie's going to join us, and that's one of her favorite topics, as it is mine too. Neutrality is so important, because if you can get out of polarized thought, then you can, you're in a far better position to discern truth, and you're not attached to the outcome. You can allow things to be. So that's that one. And look for the commonality. Look for the good in someone. If you want to criticize them, before you have the right to criticize, you've got to come up with something kind. And what you judge in another, you judge in yourself. And what was the thing? This is the other thing that they said, is basically, we have been collaborating with fear and darkness. We got to stop that. And what's the other one? Oh yeah, that was it. We have to understand the integrity of all of humanity. The integrity of all of human beings is that we are of the one source, the same source. And that the other one was that when we have to come to the fundamental understanding that when one suffers, all suffer.
Very true. And I would add to that, just sticking to the essential human values, the anti-transhumanism, is human values, which is love. If anything presented to us is telling us to disconnect us basically from each other, disconnect us from love, disconnect us from physical connection, anything that is against human values, disregard it. I don't care what you're being told. I don't care what scientist XYZ said. If it is disconnecting you from the essential human values, that is the true protest that we need to be in, that we will not disconnect.
Yeah.
That.
Reach for the real, reach for the organic, and love is inclusive. It's inclusive and expansive, whereas fear or darkness is destructive and it excludes, it's contracting. So are we building people up or are we tearing them down? And let's do more of the building each other up, because we need each other. We're brothers and sisters, and we're here together, and we need not fight. We need not harm each other. We can do such a better job of creating a beautiful world that supports everybody. It doesn't matter what skin color you are, what God you pray to, and in what direction. Do no harm. It's really simple.
And I would like to quickly apply that to not demonizing Trump. So for those that are watching, because I still have a lot of people that are connected to me that are, you know, they demonize Trump, they're anti-Trump. And it's interesting because we can apply all these new age concepts when it's not him, but when it's him, people are demonizing him. And so I'm asking people today to maybe take a look at with a different lens. Really listen to what he's saying. Don't just listen to the clips that are being shown of him and that you're being told this is how he is. Listen to him on your own. He does the press briefings. Pay attention to actually what he really is doing, and maybe give a little more support than just all constant demonization and everything you're being told, because he was not put in that position
and I would say, unless you have had dinner with him,
mm-hmm.
and have had an honest conversation with the man directly,
right,
and done a little bit of research on his history, because if you do a little bit of looking, that man has done much more for good than that the media has ever presented.
They don't present.
And then the second thing I would add to help folks that are struggling with him and go, yeah, I don't see what you see.
Right.
They see just the other way.
Right.
Carrie actually did a really good video. So if they go to YouTube and they look up cognitive dissonance, and it's by Carrie K. It's an excellent video. When people are resolved, they've decided that they hate him. My father-in-law, we can't talk about world events because he loses his cool. And he hates me because he says, oh, you're one of those. You're one of those.
Exactly. You're one of those. Separation. If you're starting to go into that mindset because someone thinks, oh, I'm open to Trump, I'm open to seeing, I see he's doing this, I see he's doing that, and you're going into, oh, now I can't talk to you. You've already lost everything that, if you're in a spiritual healing community, everything that you learn, you're literally just throwing it out the window.
Well, let's think about that really. Like, is that a mature response? I can't talk to you because you're not agreeing with me. We've got to get past the idea of, I want to hear my opinion coming out of your mouth. You're entitled to a different opinion. Here's why. My upbringing was completely different to yours, right? I was born in a different place. My parents come from a different reality. My experiences were completely different. I am one person of 8 billion. We all have different perspectives, ideas, and opinions. Nobody has to be right or wrong. But if the underpinning of it is do no harm, do unto others as you want to be done unto yourself, we won't go wrong. We'll be guided. Those are good values. And yeah, you're right. Stick to human values, which is we love each other, we support each other. And love is not an emotion. It's not an emotion. It's a current of being. It's how you be. Are you compassionate and kind and forgiving? I mean, I've seen enough violence in the last little bit to last a lifetime.
You know what? I know we're trying to close down, but what's popping in is, and I'm hearing, just share this one piece. Could you speak briefly about what you think, explain why this whole going out and protesting and bowing down and doing a knee is a dark ritual, because I think, you know, I posted some things about that. Nina posted some things about that. And I think it's confusing some people. Like, well, how is that a ritual? Why does me going
Okay.
out and caring about equality equal being in a black magic ritual? Do you have anything you want to say about that?
Yeah, because they're not being honest and upfront of what that is. When you take a knee, you are submitting. You are submitting your free will to what their desire is, and they're not open with your desire. It's under the illusion of take a knee for a black man, but you bow to no one but the creator. And this was in the movie Thor. If you go to the movie Thor, and there's a part in the scene where Loki, the god of mischief, also the name of my dog, by the way, my son named him, he comes out with a scepter and he tells everybody, get on your knees. Don't you like it this way for you to be in submission? So that's that. Take a knee is for that.
Yep.
Kneel down. And what people don't, you know, they're wearing the t-shirt, I can't breathe, which is what he was saying again. If you can speak the words, I can't breathe, you can breathe. If you can talk, you can breathe. But what they don't understand, why they're probably being confused, is the word abracadabra, loosely translated, means I create as I speak. If you have 1 million people wearing a t-shirt that says I can't breathe and they're claiming I can't breathe, guess what? They're going to manifest it, because we're that powerful as creators. You claim, you are what you say you are. You are what you claim. And if you can continually admit and speak that you can't breathe, that will become your reality. Because they're
Right.
not honest with their rituals. They're not honest with what they're trying to get a collective group of people to submit to their control and their domination.
Right. And they actually do, the groups, when we talk about they, we're talking about cabal,
The
Luciferianism,
globalists,
the globalists
the
that,
elite, the
right,
billionaires that
the
want,
elite
yeah.
globalists that actually some of them do participate in Luciferian ritual, and in their Luciferian ritual is about dismantling society, enslaving people so that they can do whatever they want. You know, we become just, you know, we take out the garbage, we do whatever they need to get done so they don't have to do it. And we don't think for ourselves, and we do whatever we're told. And this particular protest is just a small little snapshot of getting people in that state of mind and getting them in line, which is part of their Luciferian. They're actually doing rituals where they're praying for that. They're seeing that. They're seeing people as slaves. They're seeing people disempowered. They're seeing people separate from each other. They're seeing people disconnected from love. So just for everyone who's listening, that is when we're talking about, this is a Luciferian ritual that you're participating in. If you choose to go out and go, yeah, you know, let's do this. Black Lives Matter. Not that they don't matter, but that's not what has nothing to do what these elite globalists are praying for.
No, especially now that we know that all of those donations are not going to the black families that they're claiming they support. They're going to the Democrats to pay their funding for this election. So they're stealing the money that the good, innocent people want to direct to our community of black brothers and sisters, and they're keeping it for themselves, which is just the same as Al Sharpton, the Democratic black gentleman who's a black brother, but he's been bought and paid for, because he's doing the eulogy of this fellow, and then he's getting on his 5G private jet. He's not going back to the inner cities. He's getting on his private jet. They're liars. They're all lying. And that's where we have to learn to discern truth and see through the truth. Follow the money. Follow the money.
Follow
exactly.
That is so much truth. But anyway, yeah, I'm right as we were closing, I kind of had a guide come in and go, wait a minute, you guys got to explain this. So
no, that's it, right? So I mean, I had the same. There was a fellow here locally, and when you tell them that it's like a satanic or Luciferian ritual, They look at you like you've got 15 heads.
They don't believe it. They don't believe it. They think that's just a conspiracy theory that has,
Well, then here's what okay, if folks don't believe it, just go ahead and do a little Google, YouTube search for Moloch. And then if you find images, old images, ask yourself, why does that image even exist? If it's not real, why does it exist?
Can you spell that
Right?
for people so they know what to look up?
I think it's either M-O-L-O-C-H. I think it's M-O-L-O-C-H. I think that's what it is. Yeah. Yeah. Why does that even exist? And they've been doing it, but they've been doing it for thousands of years.
Right.
Cannibalism and sacrifice, they've been doing it for millennia.
Right. And right now we're in a time where they've been trying to create a certain precedent on this planet for a very long time. And they believe that this is the time, you know, based on astrology, based on the state of the way people are thinking and how much attention people give to the mainstream media. They feel like they've gotten everything in the right spot to address this agenda, but it's also, they didn't expect Trump to come in. And so they're like, okay, we got to implement everything now because Trump is trying to dismantle it and shine the light on it. And people are starting to wake up and see what we're doing. So we better get all this thing we've been planning achieved now.
Yeah, well, they're in checkmate because their time is over. The time of separation is over with humanity, where we will again very soon, for some of us are already connected to source, which is why you and I can talk about these things from a multidimensional perspective. And that's why we're calling this cosmic perspective. It's just a perspective. It's just an idea. Don't need to hang on to it. Don't need to agree with us. It's okay. The whole idea of this is that maybe it sparks a little bit of curiosity in those that are listening, and to encourage and inspire you to think a little bit more for yourself and ask questions. Question everything and feel how it feels.
Yeah, all you have to do is look up some of these things, type them in online. Some things are still being blocked, but you'll get led to the right place, because if you just immediately hear something and go, well, that's just a conspiracy, and you don't go and take a look at all, you've already closed yourself down. You know, you could just say, well, you're trying to block out lies by doing that. You know, I can hear the consciousness of people that are choosing not to look. Well, I'm just not going to participate in a lie. But I mean, if so many people are talking about it, and for you to just kind of discount it and go, well, I won't even look, I've said that's to your detriment. Not you, but whoever is choosing that, that's to the detriment.
No, well,
look.
Exactly. Well, the sign of intelligence is that actually you will entertain all ideas, do your own research, and discern for yourself. But you must explore it first. You can't dismiss it, because if you do dismiss it and you're resolved and you've already decided that you believe what you believe, you have literally locked yourself in that reality. You've trapped yourself in that reality. And if you have already decided that Trump is, you know, horrible and all those things, you've decided, and it doesn't matter who presents what to you. You've already decided that that's the case. And then that will be your reality, and nothing new can come in. You're basically saying to the universe, I don't want to hear anything else. And you'll stay stuck there, trapped there for a while. And all a new idea is something you haven't heard before.
Right. Right. Well, people say, I've seen enough. I've already seen on the news about what Trump does. But the thing is I'm just gonna put this out there to people that are questioning it, that are going, I don't know, he doesn't seem very good. Maybe the news painted him a certain way because he was challenging plans and things that were trying to be accomplished by these groups that have not necessarily agendas of the light. Maybe he challenges that, and so they have to do everything they can to paint him a certain way to make people hate him, so that we don't want him here, so that he doesn't end up dismantling them. They're fighting for their lives. They're getting indicted. They're being shown that they're treasonous. All these things are coming to light because he's in presidency. They don't want that. And when I say they, again, it's these elite politicians, business owners, families that have been around for years, that have always had a plan in terms of what this planet's supposed to look like. And it's not with God. It's not with God Goddess.
Well, what's happened basically is Trump caught them all in their criminality. And what they've been doing, the crimes are against humanity. So that's why the media has painted him in that picture. If we can convince the media that he's an idiot, he's a moron, and he's a criminal, and he's this and he's that, then the public will not listen to the crimes that he's doing his best to reveal. But people, you're going to be shocked when you find out what these people have been up to. This is profit at any cost, and it's very hard to comprehend the extent, and here's an example, right? We know this from Epstein. They figured out, the criminals figured out that they can only make so much for a key of heroin, but they figured out they can sell a little girl for years and make 100 times that. We're talking human trafficking, child trafficking, sex sex slaves, and slavery. We thought all this ended. It's mortifying for me to think that anybody would be under a slave. I don't care where you're from. You're a free being. You should not be, that's like keeping somebody on purpose in the dark and not allowing them to learn and grow. Oh my goodness, this is the reason why they're fighting, because they don't want the extent of their crimes to be revealed. Hollywood, let's end this now, because Isaac Cappy was a B-rated, I say B-rate meaning he's not in like blockbusters, but he revealed to the public last May on Twitter Live about Tom Hanks being a pedophile, Seth Green being a pedophile. He named names, and they murdered him. They murdered him a year ago. He came out in the spring or whatever, and he was murdered. He was suicided for coming out. You've got these Hollywood elites. That's why you got the Hollywood elites raising money for the rioters. All the Hollywood elites are against Trump. Well, maybe if you've been sacrificing, doing things that are inappropriate because you're wealthy, because you can hide, on private jets. This is how they transfer the children around, on a private jets, not on commercial airliners. You can get away with a lot of stuff. And he's basically saying, no, you're not doing that anymore. You will, and all of us should be standing up saying, you will not touch the children.
For people that are just starting to look into this stuff, the whole children piece, like why we're bringing up the children piece, because I have a lot of people that they don't know anything about this, and they're totally confused when I'm talking about this stuff. And it's because in these Luciferian circles, they use child sacrifice and pedophilia to actually amplify their rituals, because children energy is very powerful.
They're actually trying to steal the Kundalini energy from the child.
Right.
Because they can't, right? Because they've destroyed, because they've debased life and done everything inverted to the organic life system. They have to distort it, right? So they've lost the ability to create. They don't have that creative energy. And if they're curious about it, and they have to have a very, don't read this unless you're ready, unless you've healed your own hurts. But there is a really good book by, I think it was a senator or a congressman, John DeCamp, who was in Idaho, I believe, and it's called The Franklin Cover-Up. Look at the Franklin cover-up. Look at the Hampstead cover-up. They just arrested a bunch of people in Germany for child pornography, filming this stuff and selling it on the dark web. They've got, in Australia right now, they have a court case where there's 26 names on the docket, and a lot of those names were people that were the prime minister, people in high positions of power that are part of this pedophilia ring. You look at Somerville, Jimmy Savile in England. He's dead now, he's transitioned. He's a buddy of Prince Charles, known pedophile. The Queen knighted him or anointed him, gave him some funky title. So pedophilia has been known in the circles of the elite for eons. We've known that. But now it's just starting to come out. And in the Franklin, in the Franklin cover-up book, they call them, they believe that these rituals and these sacrifices that they do, they call them power meetings. They think that they can gain power. They can't any longer.
No,
because their time is over on this planet. The
can't do
rule,
it anymore.
the rule of this planet. Yeah. So this is just, this is, it's, yeah, I mean, it can be a little bit overwhelming when you uncover all of this stuff, but their time is over. And humanity, it's time for humanity to rise in the organic, in the real, and trust in the knowing that we are part of something much, much bigger, and that we're capable of so much more beauty. Instead of creating ugliness, let's create beauty.
Right.
And a safe place for
Safe,
our children, our children's children, so that we can all, and as Carrie, and this is a quote from her, and it's going to be so much fun to chat with her next week.
yes, everyone, she's coming on next week. Carrie Kay, who we were talking about, coming on next week.
Yeah, and she's the one that has that video called Cognitive Dissonance. So if you've got a family member, or you've got challenges within family that one side supports Trump and the other side doesn't, that video is really, really good to kind of help people move into a place of neutrality so that they can hear the message. Because he's not fighting blacks and white, he's fighting the globalists. He's fighting the global wealthy elite. And he is in a good position because he's a billionaire too. He flipped. He basically saw what was going on and thought, oh my goodness, because he doesn't drink, see? He doesn't drink alcohol. So in all these parties, when everybody else is lit up, he's sober and just witnessing what's going on.
He's seen it. Yeah, for people, as a final thing, for people that are just starting to go, okay, let me see, like, what about all the bad things that were said about him? Go ahead and type in online, like if you heard, like type in, did Trump put the children in cages? And don't go to like SCBS and look at the other alternative sites that come up when you type in stuff like that on Google. Go through every single thing that was said about him and go look at alternative sites and see actually, you'll be like, oh my gosh, like that picture actually was from the Obama administration that they posted instead of the Trump administration. You'll be blown, your mind will be blown. You'll go, wow, like the news told me all these bad things about him.
They twist it. Yeah, they twist it all. Yeah. And you know what? So here's, you know, if people think that, oh, he's a criminal. Well, number one, he's doing the job for free. He gives away his $400,000 a year salary every quarter back to support, number one. Number two, why the heck would he want to take on this much hatred when he's global business? The guy didn't need to do this. Don't tell me it's from his ego. I'm sorry. It doesn't matter how big your ego is to get beat up by every single media. It's because these crimes are against humanity and they're global. They're beyond just America. They're even in my country. Positions of power. Exactly. That's what this is about. Yeah, exactly. But she's got a really good video that will help that. And I mean, I've looked at reports where, you know, businesses in the past were trying to raise funds. He lent the money, and when the person came back to pay back the money in full, Trump ripped up the check. He's a billionaire. He doesn't need the $100,000 from you.
Right.
He'd rip it up. So many reports of him having legitimate friendships with black brothers and sisters. Yep. He's not racist. He's the least racist person I've ever met. So he's not perfect with his words. He's not a politician. He's a businessman. He tells it like it is. He speaks to people in ways that they can understand. And do you ever notice he never fumbles at the podium? Because when you're searching for the truth, it's always the truth. Yeah. It's easy to find.
It's a channel. It's a divine energy. For people that are starting to look up like New World Order, I had somebody email me, what's NWO? And it talks about globalists and how they don't want borders. Like when you first think of that, you go, oh, maybe that's not bad. We'll all be together. It's about bringing humanity together. It's not. It's about one government that are corrupt, that do these satanic rituals, that wish for people to be enslaved. Literally, they want one group of people to be able to dictate over everything.
It's Hunger Games.
Yeah.
New World Order is Hunger Games made manifest. That Snow and the Richie Rich. I mean, you see how ridiculous that show is, right? With their crazy hair and makeup.
I haven't seen it.
And they're bringing. You haven't seen it?
No. Tell if you have.
Okay, so basically,
that don't watch TV. So tell us.
Right. So Hunger Games, it's a 3-part movie, but basically in a nutshell, you've got the wealthy elite that have their own TV show for entertainment. And then they have districts of poverty. So on the 9th district, or the furthest district away, you've got to hunt and hit a squirrel to eat food, or steal a piece of bread. There is nothing. You're basically, it's like a camp. And then they nominate a child from each district to come and play the Hunger Games, which is basically only one of you gets to live. So they pit all the kids against each other, so they all murder each other. Except here's what happens though. In the Hunger Games, the kids figure it out in the 3rd one, and they actually beat the game. And they figure out when they unify, they come together, they can take down the oppressor.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I just adore you, and I love chatting with you, and I'm so excited that we're going to be meeting and doing this as we can, maybe every week, or we'll be in the flow, but we're going to try to keep connecting in on bringing perspectives, our perspective about news and things that are going on in the world, because it's not just about the news, it's about our planet surviving and thriving, and us moving into the light and into ascension and dismantling anything that's against that.
Yeah, we got to a point where it's evolve or die. Because if we continue, we will destroy ourselves. So humanity at a higher level decided, I think we'll move on. We're not going to destroy ourselves. We agree that we will no longer agree to lives, and we will evolve. And that we just have to walk through this messy stuff to get there. And then we will eventually, when we have that shift in consciousness and we realize that we're all brothers and sisters and we are one, we will not need borders, and we will not need government, because we will self-rule, because it'll be under the guise of we're all one and we do no harm.
And we're going to get there. God, Goddess wins. We are going to get there.
Exactly. Indeed.
All right, my dear. I adore you. It's wonderful talking to you.
I adore you too.
It gives me so much joy, and I feel so free, and I feel so liberated when we have our conversations, and I hope that everybody else gets that energy when they watch and connect and learn, and we're just sharing our opinions, but you know, I hope that people feel
just
good.
A couple of ladies having a chat, that's all. All right.
Hey, we'll talk soon.
Okay, take care. Bye now.
Take care. Bye-bye.
God bless. Bye-bye.